What is going on, everyone? My name is Reshma. Welcome back to another Transformers Earth Wars guide. Hopefully all you guys are having a fantastic day as always. Tonight we're going to be talking about the bot known as Minerva. We're going to be talking about setups and gameplays and much more. But if you are new to this channel and like this kind of content, please consider hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, become part of the reshiminesquad. I appreciate all the support from you guys as always. But also, shoutouts to Sayan 69 for the setups, and shoutouts to CF Tactics for the thumbnail. His link to his channel will be in the description down below. But let's get right into it. Minerva, what should we know about her ability? Well, let me tell you guys, this bot is absolutely insanely epic on the field. Yes, medics are actually quite useful. In fact, when newer players are getting their first 5-star, I usually will recommend Batch 10. That is where she is from. But what is her ability, you may ask? Healing Tower, level 10. Spawn a healing tower that recovers 665 health to all allies in range of every second for 15 seconds. Cannot be targeted nor destroyed. Wow. That's insane, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you always would want her in the back line, okay? You never want her to be in the front line. But you may be asking yourself an important question. What setups can you use for her? Well, let's talk about that. Well, now that we covered Minerva's basic ability, we gotta talk about what setups you can use for her. The following cores you can use are Alpha Trion and Micronus. For combats, C.L and Rung. But I promise you guys that these are very helpful setups, especially when we get through to the gameplays. So, what are we waiting for? Let's do that now. So we're going to start off with the first setup, which is known as Alpha Trion and C.L. What does this core and combat do? Well, Alpha Trion gains 1 ability point for every 11 seconds. So basically, every 11 seconds that Minerva is on the battlefield, she's going to gain an ability point. And that helps with her high cost of 5+5 because you'll be able to use it at a cheaper cost and it will stack over time. The combat is C.L. What does he do? Heals the allies around your target for 24% of your bot's heal value. Every 10 seconds, you and your targets reflect 18% of damage for 6 seconds. Yeah, that does get quite handy in battles, and you will see that in the gameplay following this explanation. So enjoy, guys.
Roll out! Roll now, Sunstreaker. Well done. Roll out, Ironheart. It is over. Finished.
So we're moving to the next setup, which involves the core known as Alpha and Trion, but this time we're changing the combat around, which is Rung. Now, what does Rung do? Heal the allies around your target for 34% of your bot's heal value. Every 10 seconds, you shield your target from 26% of damage for 4 seconds. Now, in this case and scenario, CL is much better than Rung, but you will see that in the gameplay upcoming. So, enjoy, guys.
Roll out! Roll out! It is over. Finished. Roll out! Attack! It is over. Finished. Rule out! Rule out! Well done.
So, we are moving on from Alpha Trion and we're switching to Micronus. Now, why Micronus on a medic, you may ask? Well, the thing of the matter is, who's going to keep that medic alive while she's busy or he's busy healing your bots that are battling for you? Well, the thing of the matter is, Micronus is the perfect answer for that. What does Micronus do? Restores 1.9% health to all nearby teammates every 5 seconds. If Minerva is among a lot of bots, she will heal multiple bots at once, not just herself. And then C.L, what does he do? Heal the allies around your target 24% of your bot's heal value. Every 10 seconds, you and your targets reflect 18% of damage for 6 seconds. This will become relevant when you see the gameplay following this explanation, so enjoy, guys.
Rule out! Now, reap the whirlwind! Abilities ready. Abilities ready. Well done. Roll out! Now, reap the whirlwind! Freedom is the right of all sentient beings. Roll out! Now, reap the whirlwind! Well done.
So we're down to the final setup for Minerva, and believe it or not, I think this setup could be useful if you do not have CL at your disposal at the current time. Micronus, we've already reviewed what that core does, but what does Rung do? Heal the allies around your target for 34% of your bot's heal value. Every 10 seconds, you shield your target from 26% of damage for 4 seconds. Again, CL is a lot better than this, but honestly, if you are desperate enough, Rung can be a good backup option. But with all that further ado, check out the gameplay that's coming right up. Enjoy, guys.
Roll out! Now, reap the whirlwind! Freedom is the right of all sentient beings. Roll out! Deploy! Well done. Roll out! Deploy! Freedom is the right of all sentient beings.
will do it for tonight's guide for Minerva. Hopefully you guys learned something about this amazing medic. And quite frankly, if you are looking for a solid option at the medic position, Minerva might be your best choice. But are you going to go for her for your next 5-star pull? At least get a chance to. Or are you going to skip her and go the non-medic route? Either way, let me know down in the comment section below what do you think of this bot. And also, comment what bot do you want me to do a guide on next. I'll be open for other options. However, the next one might be confirmed as Wheeljack. But before I go, I want to give a shout out to CF Tactics. He provided these wonderful data sheets to me to show to you guys. So, shout out to him again. His link to his channel will be in the description down below. I encourage you to go check him out. So, without that further ado, guys, I'll see you guys later. Alligators, peace!